Dependency injection is a design pattern and a fundamental concept in software development, including Angular. It is a technique that allows you to decouple components and their dependencies, making your code more modular, maintainable, and testable. In the context of Angular, dependency injection is just a way of providing instances of objects, which can be services, components, etc., to classes that require them, rather than having those classes create the objects directly. So for example, on the last parts we have used dependency injection when we wanted to have access to all the methods of the HTTP client, or when we wanted to have access of the activated route. Instead of hard-coding dependencies within a class, you specify the dependencies as a constructor parameter, and then the Angular's dependency injection system will take care of creating and managing the instances of these dependencies and injecting them into the classes that need them. Using dependency injection does have a lot of benefits, but the four important ones are loose coupling. Dependency injection promotes loose coupling between classes, meaning that a class doesn't need to know the details of how its dependencies are created, because it only relies on the interface of the dependency. This way, making it easier to modify and swap dependencies without affecting the consuming classes. Another benefit is reusability. By decoupling components and services, you can reuse them in different parts of your application or even in other projects, and this reusability is a significant advantage when building especially complex applications. The third benefit would be testability, and that's because dependency injection does simplify unit testing, because you can easily mock or substitute dependencies with test doubles during testing. And last but not least, by following the dependency injection pattern, your code becomes more maintainable and easier to understand. So the separation of concerns and modular design will help you locate and fix issues more efficiently. In our app, we have used dependency injection so far when we have, as we already mentioned, when we have injected the HTTP client or the activated route, and we have used only one way of injecting dependencies, and that has been by just passing them as a parameter in the constructor. But there is one more way of injecting dependencies, so for that, let us go to Visual Studio Code. In here, in the home component, if you scroll up, you see that to inject the HTTP client, I've just passed it by using the private, then HTTP client, the HTTP client as a parameter. But in Angular, you can also use the inject method. So for that, in here, you can type, let's say, private HTTP client, I'll just name it other, and this is going to be inject and then HTTP client. So you can either use this way or this one. I do prefer passing the dependencies as parameters in the constructor, but if you prefer this other way, you can use it as well.